Hey guys, it's John Carlson back with another video, and today I want to take you through some hip mobility drills that you can do. If you didn't know, before I became a personal trainer, I worked in finance for about 8 or 9 years. So I know what it's like spending up to 12 hours a day being sat at a desk and then spending up to 2 hours commuting either in your car or by train. And one of the things is when you're sat down for that long, your hip muscles get really tight. So when it comes to doing the gym or even just everyday life, when you're doing the exercises, especially leg exercises, if you haven't got that range of motion and the flexibility through your hips, you kind of overcompensate by using your lower back a lot, which you can get away with for a while. And then over time, you'll find that your lower back starts getting quite cranky. So improving your hip mobility will definitely help improve your lower back health. So I'm going to take you through 3 mobility drills. Okay, so the first mobility drill is what's called a couch stretch. So as you can see, I'm already set up with my foot on the bench and I've got a foam pad under my knee. If you want to do this at home, by all means, it's called a couch stretch because you can put your foot on the couch, on the bed, on a sturdy chair that's not going to move. Roll up some towels under your knees and you're all good to go. So there are a couple of things to set up for this to make sure that you get the most out of the stretch, so that you really focus on hitting the hip flexors. So with one foot up on the bench, you want to start in this kind of position. So 1 foot forward, and then you're leaning into it. From here, you want to squeeze the butt and push the hips forward, and then slowly come up, nice and controlled, and you'll feel a big intense stretch. If you're really tight on this leg, you'll probably find you may just need to start in this position, holding it for about 30 seconds to a minute before switching to the other side. Then over time, you should be able to just get a little bit more flexibility here until you can get nice and upright. Okay, so this is the second mobility drill. This is called a hip rock back with one leg extended. For this one, you want to go on your knees and then bring your hands forward. Ideally, what you're looking for is hips over your knees, shoulders over your hands. From here, you're going to take one leg out to the side and then gently rock your hips straight back and forth. Now, for this one, a lot of people are really tight in the inner thigh muscles, so go very gentle on this one for a start because they're quite delicate muscles to try and stretch aggressively. The other thing that I've seen people do when they've started this exercise, where they compensate, so I'll show you from the side. So you go into position and they get so far, and that's when they then run out of hip mobility, so you see them start to kind of turtle up like that. The idea is keep this back nice and flat as you're pushing your hips. For the third mobility drill, I'm going to take you through what's called a hip CARS, C-A-R-S, which stands for Controlled Articular Rotations. It's just a fancy posh way of saying moving a joint through the full range of motion with a muscular control. So what you'll sometimes see people doing when it comes to hip circles is you'll just see them moving the hips out, which is fine by itself. It gets a little bit of mobility through the hip, but this one's slightly more with intent as such. So from here, use a wall for support, get nice and tall, and you're going to lift one leg up as high as you can, bring the knee slightly across the body, then keeping your hips square on, squeeze the knee out to the side as far as it will go. And from here, you want to think about rotating the knee down, rotating the foot up as far as it will go. When you reach that level, squeeze the knee and the foot back and around. And then go again, so up, squeezing, squeeze out to the side, rotate, squeeze back, and around. So the 2 most common compensations I'll see people try on this is when they're bringing the hip out, you'll see them just swing the hips open. So it's not, you don't want to swing the hips, you want to keep the hips square on. The other one is you'll see when it comes out to doing rotations, people will go all sorts of leaning in to try and avoid that hip mobility. So focus on keeping straight and tall as you rotate and squeeze back. So that's the 3 hip mobility drills that you can do on a near daily basis. So to recap, you've got the couch stretch, which I'd probably say to do for about 30 seconds to a minute on each side. Then go to the hip rock backs with the one leg extended, somewhere between 8 to 12 reps on each side. and then come to the hip cars against the wall. For the hip cars, I'd probably say about 3 to 5 reps on each side. If you've never done something like that before, when you first start, probably around 2 or 3, because you'll feel your hips like on fire for a start. But over time, just keep practicing at it, and you will notice a difference in your hip mobility.